Hello everyone, Lisa Arana here, and I'm creating with one of my most favorite supplies today, pattern paper. Not only is this paper pretty, but it's Halloween themed, and I made thank you cards with it. I know, it's shocking, but I couldn't resist. So let's get started stamping and creating with this fantastic new paper pack by Unity Stamp Company. Starting out with card number 1. I picked some pretty pattern papers from the Eternal Midnight Weave paper pack from Unity Stamp Company. I grabbed one of my favorite dies from Pink Fresh Studio and picked out which papers I wanted to die cut those with. And then I have a cardstock from, I think it's called Coordinations. It has this pretty purple color that I thought would go well with the pattern paper. I'm just going to run that through my die cut machine using this quilted embossing folder. You could use whatever you have in your stash that's similar or a pretty pattern that matches your papers. And then grab a fine sanding block and just lightly sand away the top of that cardstock. And it'll reveal the color of the core of that cardstock. Most cardstock will have a white core, but this particular brand colors their cores and it's a light purple, so I thought it was really pretty with these paper packs. And here's a closer look at that. Isn't that neat how just by sanding off the top, you get the pattern to really pop out? Next, I covered my card base with this pretty pattern paper, and the edges are kind of really white, so I'm just going to run some ink around the edges. This is black soot distress ink, and I'm using a finger dauber just to kind of hide that white edge from the card base. Then I just used tape adhesive and I'm going to glue down my embossed panel right in the center of the card. Now I'm going to do a bit of stamping. I pulled out the Happiness and Wildflowers stamp set from Unity Stamp Company and stamped that with Gina K amalgam ink. I'm going to color this with Copic markers so I know that's a safe ink to use. And then I'm just using Hammermill cardstock to stamp on with my Misty stamping tool. Next, I grabbed the Happiest Wishes and I'm going to stamp the thank you sentiment from this kit just on my pattern paper die cut layer. Grab my scissors and we're going to fussy cut out those flowers. I colored them in a mix of grays and purples and then added a bit of Winkostella at the end. I decided to add a little pizzazz to this die cut layer and added a strip of pattern paper, some foam adhesive behind those beautiful flowers, and then we're just going to pop that up right in the division of those two patterns. And then add a few Nouveau drops in black to finish this card off with just a little bit of dimension. And moving on to card number 2, I selected some more papers from that pattern paper pack and the same purple cardstock. And this time I am using the Deckle and Stitches dies from Unity Stamp Company. I decided to use 3 sizes of dies for this card. But first we have to get stamping and decorating our pattern paper. I stamped that big beautiful damask from the Never stamp set in Seedless Preserves, and then the thank you from Say It Big in black. And then I'm just going to add a few distress dots, I guess, or splatter dots. This is a stamp in the Never stamp set. And then we're going to ink blend the edges. Just thought it was a nice way to add a bit more color to these pattern papers and to match the Seedless Preserve stamping. And then I'm going to do the same ink blending around the thank you sentiment, kind of again pull in that pretty purple to the front of the card. This kind of scared me, but I added some splatters in the Seedless Preserved and I'm pretty happy with it. It adds just a little bit more dimension to that sentiment, and it's just a fun way to add to that background. To add a little bit more of an interest and to change up the colors of those splatters because I didn't want to get too crazy with that stamp, I added some water to that ink and I'm just going to paint splatter over the top. Just gives a little bit more interest to those splatters in 2 different tones. Now we just have to start building that card up. I'm going to add a string bow around my damask layer. Just add a little bit of texture and interest to this card. I'm going to glue that down directly onto the card front at an angle. I didn't want to lose that stamped image, so I am kind of placing it up in the corner, and then I'll place my cardstock kind of down in the bottom corner so we can still get a peek of that stamping. And then I'm going to pop up the thank you sentiment right in the center of my mat with some foam adhesive. And that finishes off both cards. Who knew you could get such beautiful thank you cards from a Halloween paper pack? I'll have all the supplies linked in the description of this video and on my Dahlhouse Designs blog. If you have any questions or a sweet comment, make sure you post below. Thank you so much for creating with me. Be sure to like and subscribe to catch all my video tutorials, and it really helps my little channel grow. I hope you were inspired, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!